Today we're talking about how to get respect when you're a quiet person. Today we're talking about how to get respect when you're a quiet person. And I'm going to break it down into two sections, specifically a mental and actionable section. As an introvert, it's very difficult sometimes to be respected.
Shut your mouth.
Because people assume that just because you're quiet, you don't deserve respect. We assume that people who express themselves, either verbally or through their actions, are more confident. They're more aggressive. So when we see people who are confident, we tend to give them more respect. So how, as an introvert, are you able to garner respect from outsiders? Let's talk about the mental work that has to be done to get respect as a quiet person. Now, you may be highly competent and capable, but you might not garner the respect that you want. In her book Cues, Vanessa Van Edwards talks about something that's missing, and it's a key component for people to trust you. See if you can find what key component is missing, and I'll tell you the answer at the end. One of the key factors that's needed in order to be respected as a quiet person is the mental game of mutual respect. Mutual respect is the equivalent acknowledgement of regard for one another. It doesn't mean you have to like them. It just means you have to understand they're a separate person with their own individual mind, perspective, and experiences. As a quiet person, people will often assume things about you because you don't speak about what you're thinking or feeling. And oftentimes, their assumptions are negative. And a negative assumption would be that you don't respect other people because you're quiet. In order to combat that, you have to assume respect for the other person. It doesn't mean you have to like them. It just means you have to assume respect that they have separate opinions and experiences in life. Now, unless the person has blatantly violated respect of all people, we can assume that they deserve respect. And it'll show in some of our mannerisms as well. And we'll get into that. Now, for me, it's a trigger if I see anybody being disrespectful to someone else. I have to take action on this, and we'll talk about more specific actions we can take later. Another thing to keep in mind is that you have to respect yourself. Respect yourself to take the correct action in the situations when you feel disrespected. You could see the difference in the movie Kung Fu Panda. When you compare Oogway, the master turtle, and Shifu, what is he, a rodent? I don't know what he is. Some small mammal. There's a difference in the way they respect themselves. Oogway respects himself to know that everything will be okay in the long run.
There is no good or bad.
If something's bad, though, he could take corrective action. Even when his own student, Shifu, criticizes his judgment, he doesn't react negatively.
He wasn't even meant to be here. It was an accident.
There are no accidents.
Shifu, on the other hand, doesn't respect others enough. He doesn't also respect himself to take correct action when necessary. When something doesn't align with what he believes, he's going to criticize or shut down.
I don't know. I don't know.
The second important mental factor in getting others to respect you is confidence. Confidence is the mindset of having favorable convictions of your actions. Confidence is a predictive thought pattern that's often based on experience. But there are key factors that we need to know in order to be confident. We have to know what our strengths are, our weaknesses are, and what we can change and can't change. If you aren't aware of these, people can see right through you. For example, we often see people who have false confidence. We see right through them. How is that? It's easy to see right through these people because they assume they have no weaknesses. We see people who are falsely confident in the way that they express their weaknesses. If they say they have no weaknesses and they brag about being great at everything, we can assume they're lying and they have false confidence because every human has a weakness.
I will show you.
Now, the thing about being quiet is that people assume you're not confident because you don't express your opinions aggressively. What makes it worse is that if we have negative views about our outcome, it demolishes our confidence. When I was in college, I would be excited but nervous about new classes. But if I got a bad score on my first exam, it would demolish my confidence. Now, I had the option of either dropping the class or continuing it. And very often, these were required classes, so I couldn't drop it. And I couldn't change the exams either. So if I had a bad score on a first exam and felt unconfident about a class, I would try to reach out and get help. Because I knew I couldn't change the exam, I only had a choice of changing myself. I had a weakness in this class and I have to take care of it. An example of this can be seen with Captain Holt on Brooklyn Nine-Nine. He's a confident man, and we know this because he's aware of his strengths and weaknesses.
I am your superior officer!
And he knows what he can work on. He knows he's a good leader and a good cop. He knows he's a gay man and he's prideful of it. But he also is aware of his weaknesses. So when he wants to cook a meal for a significant other, he actually reaches out for help.
Could you help orient me with that process?
The way you view someone's confidence is how they address their weaknesses. The next important mental factor in getting respect as a quiet person is boundaries. Now, boundaries are values or standards that you will accept or not. And in social context, boundaries are the limits of actions or statements that you will accept.
What happens in my bedroom, detective, is none of your business.
And we can't set boundaries without knowing what our values are. That's why it's so important to take inventory of what your values are. What do you find important? What will you stand up for? And what will you not accept?
Don't ever speak to me like that again.
These are expressed in not just our verbal communication, but our actions. You could see this in the first Captain America movie. Despite being much smaller than other people, Steve Rogers will not tolerate bullies. In a pivotal character development moment in the movie, Steve Rogers stands up to two bullies.
You just don't know when to give up, do you?
I'm like this all day.
This shows us that his values are clearly against bullies. And because of that, his boundaries are he will not accept or tolerate anybody bullying other people who are smaller than them. Now let's switch over to actionable things you could do or say that could get you respect as a quiet person. And the first thing is active listening. Quiet people are very good at listening, but what they're not good at sometimes is active listening. Now, active listening isn't just the words that are spoken,
You've said that already.
but it's the feeling and thoughts behind them. When we connect with people, we want to connect with the emotions that they have. And we do that by hearing what they say, interpreting what they say, and reflecting it back to them. This also includes words of understanding, like, yes, I agree, I understand,
I know, right? Oh!
Yeah.
which highlights how important it is to ask quality questions when we're actively listening.
What's on your mind?
But how'd you know I could?
Ow! How?
We have to show empathy and compassion. An example of this can be seen with Iroh from Avatar: The Last Airbender. He's a very compassionate man. He doesn't just share his advice with his allies, he shares them with his enemies as well.
People see me and think I'm weak. They want to take care of me, but I can take care of myself by myself.
You sound like my nephew.
He lets people finish their statements. He lets people ask questions, and he answers them thoughtfully and thoroughly.
What if I'm not powerful enough?
I don't know the answer. Sometimes life is like this dark tunnel.
He connects with people on an emotional level, despite being enemies. The second active thing you could do to garner more respect as a quiet person is to have positive body language. Body language is the expression of communication without verbal. And sometimes body language speaks louder than verbal because it's difficult to lie with our body. What this includes is open body language, upright posture, smooth motions, and relaxed facial expressions. We could see this with Walter White from the show Breaking Bad. Despite whatever danger he still has open body language, smooth motion, and an upright posture. He doesn't self-soothe himself, he doesn't fidget or have closed-off body language. The third thing you could do to get respect as a quiet person is to hold eye contact. In the book Telling Lies, Paul Ekman says that blinking and pupil dilation can leak valuable information and tell if someone's lying. This is the difference, evolutionarily speaking, between survival and death. That's why humans are so good at detecting emotions in the eyes, because it's a matter of life or death. Because of that, eye contact is incredibly important in respect. If we want to be respected, we have to hold eye contact, especially when someone's sharing something important. And a game you can play to practice this is to play eye contact chicken with the people you know. Hold eye contact with somebody you're talking with and you know, and see if they will look away first. This will let you practice eye contact and help garner more respect. And the last thing you could do to get more respect as a quiet person is to take action when necessary. This includes removing yourself from the situation when you know you can't handle it. If something crosses your boundaries or something makes you uncomfortable, you should speak up or take action.
How dare you, Detective Diaz?
It also involves standing up for other people, especially when they can't stand up for themselves. And if you do that, people will respect you if they understand you have nothing to gain from this. An example can be seen with Sherlock Holmes.
I don't have to die if I've got you.
He's not described as a large, burly man, but he will take on any challenge. He will use his intelligence to outwit any threat. As you can see, the core of respect comes from internal strength. If you aren't aware of your strengths, weaknesses, what you can't change and what you can't, you can be easily disrespected because you aren't aware of your boundaries and values. You have to take specific action, like holding eye contact, having open body language, actively listening and communicating, and taking action when necessary, like removing yourself. If you don't have respect for yourself and respect for others when they're required, you can be easily disrespected and react very poorly, thus even lowering the level of respect you get.
Now, did you get the answer?
Oftentimes, when people are highly capable and competent, they're missing a key factor, and that's warmth. People like Elon Musk and Mark Zuckerberg are highly competent and capable, but people say they're missing warmth. This key factor makes people not want to trust them. This trust is a key factor in any human relationship. Were you guys able to guess that one? What do you guys think? Have you ever been disrespected as a quiet person? Let me know in the comments down below. And until next time, guys, never give up on yourself.